Welcome to IlliniGuys Halftime Live. This is Mike Kegley. We'll have Ked Prince jumping on in a moment or two. Certainly, this was an interesting one at the half. We found out that indeed, we heard earlier in the season people said, well, Purdue looked bad one game and they're not they're not going to be as good as what we thought they would be. And quickly we find out that when you're dealing with college kids, they've got to play different teams. And if you had read the Brad Sturdy preview in IlliniGuys.com today, he talked about the opportunity to have a little bit of a letdown when you have the Texas Tech victory and Alabama the next game up on Wednesday. So we're seeing a team that maybe is playing started a little bit slow, and the zone defense has caused a little bit of problems for Illinois. Let's roll through some of the stats here at the half. Colgate is actually out shooting Illinois 41 to 35 in terms of percentages, something that you're probably not going to expect out of the Colgate team. But nonetheless, they have done quite well there. Colgate is 12 for 29, Illinois 13 for 37. And when you look at 3-point percentage, Illinois has done a pretty good job. They have held our friends from Colgate fairly made it really kind of a tough time for them to shoot. Colgate is shooting 22% from the three, Illinois 29. Not a stellar evening for the Illini. Both teams shooting free throws relatively well, 4 for 4 for Colgate, 10 for 12 for Illinois. Turnovers, Colgate 2, Illinois 5. Points off of turnovers, a little bit of a flip from the other night. Colgate has 9 points off of turnovers. Illinois only 2. Total rebounds, Illinois is up 28 to 13. They're up 13 to 2 on offensive rebounds, and they're up 13 to 2 on second chance points. Now that's a hustle stat, and that's probably the one thing that Coach Underwood is probably feeling good about. And then, of course, bench points are 8 to 8. Points in the paint, 16 to 12 for the Illini, and fast break points, 2 to 0 for Colgate. 1 block for Illinois, 3 steals for Colgate, 1 for Illinois, and both teams have 4 assists. Illinois was helped out by a 4-point play with 4 free throws in a row. Don't see that very often. Ked, the Illini look like they are, I don't know if they're sleepwalking, but it looks like that when you play Texas Tech and you got Alabama right around the corner, it's hard to get up and excited to play a toothpaste.
It is. And Mike, they're older, they're a veteran group. You would think that wouldn't happen, but they're still young. I mean, it's not pretty basketball, but I would much rather see it tonight than to see it next week. They just look uninspired. I mean, the shots aren't always going to fall. I mean, I just looked at the statistics. I believe you said they were 5 for 17 from 3, and they're getting good looks. They just don't seem to be into the game. And you've had a great week. You've won. You read all the press clippings and all the media coverage, and it's. I get it. I mean, I really and truly do. But it's bound to happen, and and it's just you'd rather see it tonight than to see it sometime next week. And, they're still hustling, and I like to see that. I'll tell you what, this is really weird. I know, but you just asked my overall opinion. There's a guy that I really like. I'm starting to like this Jason Jackson's kid a little bit. I'm kind of glad, that Underwood's playing him. He typically Illinois had big men that haven't panned out. I'm not saying he's going to score 20 points a game, but he's a little bit more athletic, and I like his game. I mean, he didn't come in. He only got 1 rebound, but I like the fact that Brad's playing a deeper bench. They're only up by, 11 points, I think. So they'll get it going. I mean, at some point they'll get it going, and I don't care how many they win by, even though they should win by a large margin because it matters now. But I definitely think they'll win.
So, Ked, one of the questions that we see popping out here is thoughts on why no Petrovic, and I do think that is something that that people were hoping to see. Any thoughts on that?
Well, so here's my thought. I thought for sure tonight you would see a couple minutes, and you still made the second half. There's hamstring injuries are tough, Mike. You know, the listeners out there, some of you guys have probably experienced it. And my first thought was I was frustrated because I'd rather be an ankle or something like that because you can have one bad movement and that whole hamstring could go out. It could go out again or be injured. He can miss another month. So I do think the plan was to play him. And I think, but going next week, you'd want him to get some game experience to go up, you know, when you're going to have to go up against one of the best teams in the country. So I'm surprised that he hasn't gotten in. I know he's closer to getting in. But at the end of the day, you have to be careful because you want a full roster. I mean, you've won every game so far without a full roster. You beat Texas Tech without Thomas Law. So if you could go beat Alabama next week and he's not playing, that just bodes well for the future because you don't want him to play and he gets injured, then he missed 2 months of the Big Ten season. So it stinks, and I understand that, but I'd rather see him be healthy long term. But I do think I going into the game, I thought he was going to play.
Yeah, I thought the same thing, and I agree with you. You know, the problem with the hamstring is you can feel good and feel better until you don't, and it's just one of those injuries. Hamstrings, you know, it's just hard to know if you're going to rejigger that thing. Probably
Right.
the one thing that scares me more right now is the calf injury, which you have people who they go, you know, they get the calf injury and then, you know, 3 weeks later they end up tearing an Achilles. So we do have Eric Indress, who today is his birthday. So happy
Happy
birthday to
birthday, Eric.
Eric. And Frank was upset we only flashed his comment on for a quick time uh, yesterday. So
Darn
we
it, Mike.
apologize, Frank. So you know it's an interesting thing. As I look at what I would see out there, I would like to see them. You know, I know the zone's purpose is to force you to shoot from outside, tempt you to do that, and I would like to see the Illini, you know, not be so 3 point heavy. If you know, find a way to get the ball inside and run some action and turn this into a glorified practice and you know don't shoot because that puts you on a pace for over 30 for the game and I don't know that you want to do that all the time.
Mike, I'm going to tell you, this is the one time I think I'm 100% right. I've seen teams zone Illinois, and they don't do it very often. And that they do, it doesn't last long. They have a very good zone offense where they get layups out of it. I don't think they're showing anything. Mike, I
Yeah,
mean, just think about it. They're just launching threes. And what I mean by that, and I've seen Brad Underwood coach, and I've, you
we've
know,
seen
huh? What's that?
we've
Oh,
seen the launching threes too.
yeah, Tyler Underwood has a really good offense. They get the ball to high post. They typically get layups out of it. So this, I won't use that word. I think Illinois is playing chess right now because when you look at the big picture, if teams are thinking, well, I can zone them. Well, I can assure you, you go back and if those who subscribe to Big Ten Network and you can go back to games for 3 or 4 or 5 years, look at what they do when teams zone them. That's why you don't see a lot of it. And Illinois has not had a great shooting team all those years. There's a reason why teams don't do it. Zones are great for a short period of time, but in college basketball today, the offenses are so good toward the high post and they get layups out of it. Teams don't stick long. And I just think Illinois is hoping that some of those shots are going to go in. So, and maybe they will, but, and you may see in the second half, if Colgate goes to a zone, hopefully you'll get to see what I'm talking about because their zone offense is one of my favorite offenses that they run.
Yeah, I also, you know, looking at the team here, you have to reflect, and of course we're older fans, you know, both of us in our late 50s, but it doesn't take a long-time fan to remember that a game that Illinois would come out and maybe not be as sharp as they should be under John Gross, you would be like going, "Oh my gosh, we got a chance of losing this game." Under Brad Underwood, the team comes out and they're not playing great and they're up by 11 on a pace to score over 80 points. So it's not the it's not the Illini that we've seen, you know, prior to Underwood, and I think he's turned this around very similar in a fashion to what you know had to be done by Lou Henson when he took over.
Mike, yeah, you're right. You feel comfortable knowing the fact that you're going to win, and that's what you want in all your programs. I want to talk about one guy, and I like this kid. I really do. And at one point in time during the season, they've only played 3 games. I'm thinking, is he really that good? Is he going to be that good? Keaton Wagler is really good. I mean, he's really a good basketball player. And to look at all the schools that pass by him. I mean, and I know what people don't understand. Sometimes you get, I shouldn't say that, excuse me. You get these big shoe companies and everybody see these players and put up all these points and things, whatever. And Keaton didn't have that opportunity. And his only Power 4 offers were Illinois and Minnesota. And once it was funny, a funny story I found out later in his recruitment that Minnesota was in on him before Illinois. And then once Minnesota found out Illinois was in on him, the coaches, they kind of stopped recruiting him. They knew they didn't have a chance. I was told that by a really credible source, and schools are missing out. I mean, can you imagine all those schools who saw him play and didn't think he was that good, how good he looks, because he's so smooth and he's confident, and yes, he's going to get stronger. Everybody keeps saying the same thing. Oh, he's going to get strong. Yeah, he's a young kid. He looks like he's 12, 13 years old. You have to give him time. If you look at Kylan Boswell, when he was 16 years old or 17 years old, he didn't look like he does now. So having said that, I think his game is just so smooth, and the way he can rebound. And I mean, Brad, he relies on that kid and he likes him. I mean, he told us that, and I know you guys have all heard that same story, but this kid is just solid, and he's confident, and he doesn't show any emotion. That's probably one of the things. My daughter's watching the game, and she was like, Dad, he never shows any emotion. You can't tell if he's mad, upset. He just goes out there and plays, and he defends, and he appears to be a good teammate. Andrei Stojakovic talked about him last Tuesday night in the press conference, how good he was and how solid of a teammate he is.
Yeah, it kind of reminds you, Keaton Wagler getting out of Kansas. It was a little bit like what happened when Gross let Keita Bates-Diop get over to Ohio State.
Right.
People watched him in Illinois and like, wow, how can we not land this guy? And I got to be honest with you, I'm very happy that Bill Self either didn't uncover that stone or didn't think it was good enough. Now, in fairness to the coaches, when they go see a player, sometimes they might have a rough game, and some coaches will just say, hey, look, man, I watched him and he wasn't that good. I don't know what the circumstances around Bill Self missing on Wagler were.
Me either, but I know they got to be kicking themselves. And I'm going to try to find out. I'm going to do some research and kind of see what the situation was. I knew they were starting to snoop around because it's the same thing. Once one school gets involved, the other ones do, and it was too late. I know they were starting to call him, but I don't think he entertained it.
Yes. So right now we'll monitor. Looks like they're about ready to start the half. So we will be back at the end of the game. Ked and I will be here, and then we will also have Brad come on after the locker room. We'll have that going, and of course tomorrow we're going to be doing the halftime and the end of the game for football as well. Should be a big weekend for Illini sports, and it'd be nice to see a couple of victories here. We will talk to you at the start of or right after the game's over. Until then, go Illini.